Cesar Millan's top 11 dog whisperer advice.
Everyone who owns a dog and is curious about them, or who looks for information on how to train and care for them, is familiar with Cesar Millar. This well-known dog trainer, better known as the dog whisperer on television, has been teaching owners skills for a long time. The top dog whisperer advice for training dogs is listed below.
1. Physical activity is mandatory.
Many pet owners don't give their dogs the exercise they need. Aside from health problems, Cesar Millar also discusses how an under-exercised dog is more likely to experience behavioral disorders and is less receptive to training. A happy, healthy, active dog is eager to please and is constantly listening. One of the most crucial dog whisperer advices is that lonely, bored, or frustrated dogs are more likely to develop a variety of negative habits as a kind of self-entertainment. You should look into and deal with the fundamental reason before attempting to change these harmful habits. I think a quiet dog is a happy, good dog that won't cause any harm, Cesar Millar.
2. Take your dog for a lead walk.
One of the most important aspects of effective training is taking your dog on walks. It should come as no surprise that many dog owners completely disregard how crucial the act of walking your dog is. One of Cesar Millar's top concerns with his dog whisperer advice is to inform pet owners about the importance of leading your dog with authority. Keeping your dog at your side, rather than in front of you, training your dog to stop when you stop without using voice orders, and constantly remaining in the same zone as your dog are some of the essential elements. When they have to walk 5, 10, or 15 dogs at once, these kinds of principles enable professional dog walkers to maintain their businesses. The fact is, a high-energy dog won't be content with a 1-hour stroll, regardless of how long it takes. It will take more than an hour to physically test those breeds of dogs outside. Cesar Millar.
3. Always have a strategy.
Dogs need order, according to Cesar Millar. Your dog can rest easy knowing what to expect at every stage of the day thanks to a regular daily schedule. Your dog will already be aware that you'll return home eventually when you go for work. Because he is familiar with the rhythm you've already taught him, he will be aware to hold his bladder till then. Given that dogs are creatures of habit, an unusual routine makes them anxious and stressed out. They won't know how long to anticipate your absence from them if you leave them alone. They may cry, bark, or whine out of fear, or they may wreck your leather couch out of annoyance. I've never met a dog I couldn't assist, but I have encountered people who were unwilling to grow. Cesar Millar.
4. Remain in charge.
Maintaining control is essential, but this is different from alpha dog training. Dogs thrive inside well-defined social structures, just as they do in a planned daily routine. Your dog will learn to trust and respect your commands if you position yourself as the assured pack leader. However, according to dog whisperer advice, your dog will persistently dispute your authority if you don't stand your ground. In the future, he might even regard himself as the alpha dog and demand that you submit to his authority. Only our species follows unstable leaders. This is accurate, however it has little to do with America. Pack leaders are unstable all over the world. Animals are not obedient to that. Cesar Millar.
5. Work on you, too.
You must educate and teach yourself as well in order to maintain control. Because of his understanding of their behavior, Cesar is always well-liked by dogs. You must first have self-confidence in order to exude it to your dog. Your instructions must be concise and clear, with confidence in both your voice and actions that convey your knowledge of the situation. To begin with, prepare by doing some research. Prior to beginning a training session with your dog, be aware of your goals. Think ahead to potential problems so you can handle them without losing your cool. Your energy and actions are reflected in the dog. What are you doing? You must question yourself. It is appropriate to pose that question. Cesar Millar.
6. Remain composed.
And speaking of cool, do your best to keep it. The training of your dog may occasionally proceed slowly. Very slowly you can lose your temper as a result of feeling frustrated by this. Your dog senses your stress and uses it as an opportunity to question your authority. Your frustration merely grows as a result, which makes things worse. Training can soon become ineffective and advancement can stall. Cesar Millar advises setting reasonable goals and modifying them as you go in order to avoid this kind of breakdown in training. Successful dog training requires patience. It is ultimately ineffective to become enraged with your dog or with yourself. Only what exists in your bubble can become the dog. The energy in your bubble is mimicked by the dog. The source and the feast of energy are you. The dog will share your anxiety if you're feeling anxious. When you start to feel anxious, the dog does too. Cesar Millar.
7. Avoid humanizing dogs.
Your dog will learn how to act like a human if you treat them as such. One of Cesar Millar's examples is how a dog that views you as an equal will continuously challenge you for dominance. Even worse, your dog can make an aggressive attempt to show control over strangers, which can turn dangerous. Despite the temptation, humanizing your dog can only make life more difficult for both of you. But be careful not to alienate your dog entirely. There is no excuse not to look after your dog's needs outside of training, especially his health. A dog who understands and accepts his job as a domesticated dog, however, will cheerfully accept that dynamic so long as his needs are addressed. This is a crucial aspect of dog whisperer advice. This makes your dog much easier to train and makes your lives together pleasant. Owners lavish love on their pets, which is why so many turn into out-of-control adults from non-aggressive puppies. People simply fail to grasp that their canine companion must regard them as the pack leader. Cesar Millar.
8. Define limits.
Setting and enforcing boundaries for your dog is a crucial part of creating order in your home. As Cesar teaches, your dog must come to accept that you are the expert. Being tough with your dog about acceptable and unacceptable canine behavior will help you build this bond. Send Fido clear, consistent messages that this isn't acceptable when their dog exhibits unwanted new behavior. Focus your entire training regimen on breaking this behavior if your dog has started chewing on power wires. Your dog will adapt to your expectations more readily if you concentrate on one crucial lesson at a time. Many dogs are raised without restrictions or constraints. They require affection, discipline, and exercise in that order. Cesar Millar.
9. It's only fair to be consistent.
Dogs lack common sense, so keep that in mind. Maintaining consistency in your training is one of the most crucial lessons to learn from dog whisperer advice. How is your dog meant to understand that the rules have changed by Thursday if you cave into your dog's pleading routine on Monday, just this once? Even when the rules are clear-cut and constant, a dog still has a difficult time learning how to get along with people. By changing things up, don't undercut your training efforts. Your annoyance as well as your dog's bewilderment or fear will result from this. Dogs can't think rationally. They have no ill will against anyone. They view a person's interior rather than their outside. Cesar Millar.
10. Align your efforts.
Being consistent with your dog is insufficient. In addition to being consistent, Cesar Millar suggests making sure your dog isn't receiving conflicting cues from other people. Family members, roommates, and even guests must understand how to handle your dog in light of this. The fact that any human is still a human and thus superior to any dog is the most critical thing for your dog to grasp. When you let your dog out into the real world, it becomes much more challenging to ensure that everyone is treating him fairly. Your dog may be receiving submissive body language signals from a shy stranger on the street. Your dog might get to steal a bite of your neighbor's hamburger if you're lucky. Just try to be consistent yourself because it's difficult to manage everyone else. A consistent, thoughtfully constructed training program won't be jeopardized by a single lapse with a stranger, and your dog should always regard you as the final arbiter. Although I also train others, contrary to what some people may think. Cesar Millar.
11. Get going now.
Teaching an aging dog new tricks is never too late. The canine species is intelligent. But training takes time, so get to work. You'll see benefits more quickly if you get started right away. Cesar tells us that we don't have to choose one training schedule and stick with it indefinitely. It is not the same as the problematic inconsistency highlighted in the preceding slides to improve your rules when you discover something new. Once you've made up your mind about the new rule, just follow it and give your dog some time to get used to the change. In the end, training a dog isn't about teaching them where to relieve themselves, how to walk on a leash, or how to jibble a frisbee on their nose. The goal of dog training is to get your dog to respect your authority and comply with your directions. Your dog will always follow your guidance if you are consistent and fair with it. I never tell clients I work with, your dog is changed for the rest of its life. Similar to a diet, in order to keep a certain physique, you must practice discipline and ritual. Cesar Millar. For more advice from the Dog Whisperer, visit Cesar Millar's YouTube channel.
Cesar Millar's Dog Whisperer Advice, Closing Remarks.
There are many Dog Whisperer advice sources on the internet, but Cesar Millar is undoubtedly one of the most reputable ones. After all, his methods have been tried and true. You may have a peaceful connection with your dog if you learn these advice and techniques directly from the Dog Whisperer. For more information on dog training advice, you can also read our following post. Enjoy!